Hey everyone, welcome back to another AGT Rewatchable. I can feel it in the air tonight. We are talking about Brian Justin Crum tonight on AGT Rewatchables. I'm here, of course, with AGT Commenter. How you doing tonight, Commenter?
I am steep. I have been steeped in anticipation for this rewatch, Cody. Um, this is one probably my number. He'd certainly top like four wanting to rewatch guy since we started this series this off season. So I, for one, am. How many times have I texted you over like the last week about how excited I am for this
Yeah,
episode to record it?
about
Because uh,
about daily. Like you're so excited about this.
daily.
Yeah,
Like, hey, have you watched them yet? Hey, this is gonna be good. Hey, just got done here. Like, I have, and we're recording this on a Friday, and so all week has just been like, all right, I just gotta get through Monday and gotta get through two. I just gotta get to Friday because on Friday we'll finally get to that. I think I've talked about his creep, which we'll get to his Judge Cuts creep performance so many times on this podcast, but have never gotten to talk about everything else. I'm very excited, and I do have an old blog about him that I wrote that I might reference a few old quotes that I made about his performances from a couple years ago. So maybe
yeah,
use a little
yeah, and
commenter.
we'll we'll include that in our show notes for anyone that wants to go back and read it.
Yep, I'll get that. Top. It was in my top five singers ever blog um, that I wrote about America's Got Talent way back. The top five has changed since back then. The only one that hasn't changed is him as number one. So, all right, you ready to? You got any? You want to do the business here to start?
Yeah, let's do the business real quick. So you can reach us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and we're now on the Instagram, AGT Time Pod. You can also email us agttimepod@gmail.com. I'm on there at Cody L. Patterson. Commenters on there at AGT Commenter. He's on, we say this every week. He's on the TikTok, he's on the Gram, he's on the MySpace, he's on the Kick.
Yes, all of
Yeah,
them. All of them
if you know his social media, he's on it.
for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Okay. Um, any recent news about the show before we jump in that needs to get talked about? I don't know if there's
I haven't
anything.
heard I haven't heard any new news. They're just posting things, they're posting some videos with the judges, and I haven't seen
Mhm.
anything about acts recently. So
Fans.
fans, I haven't seen fans haven't posted anything. So their season 16's coming June 1st. We're
Sure.
going to be here covering it. So
Yeah, very excited. Okay, let's dive in. So we'll dive into Mr. Brian Justin Crum, fourth place, season 11, the greatest season in the history of the show. Fourth place. It's going to be an interesting discussion at the end of this podcast about how he
yes,
finished up.
yeah.
Um, That's a good season, Cody. It's a dang good season. All right.
We've talked about season 11. We did a
The,
season 11 finals
yep.
podcast. We've talked a lot about season 11.
Yep. So, and the more the merrier, in my opinion. Um, from Los Angeles. I think he might be originally from San Diego, and then is a Los Angeles native now. He auditioned. He was 28 years old when he auditioned for America's Got Talent. He was a Broadway guy for a while. He was part of the Broadway musical Wicked, and he was also did in New York. Did some. He was a part of the Grease cast. He are you a Law and Order SVU fan, Cody?
I have not really watched the Law and Order, any of the 1,000 episodes of Law and Order.
Well, he was on one of them. He made a guest appearance
Okay,
season 12 as Daniel on the episode Possessed. So if anybody wants to see BJC in his acting world, you can go find that episode. Um,
maybe we need to watch that and cover it.
we
Was
should
it
have had that.
was it before or after he was on AGT?
Well, you can search season 12 of Law and Order SVU to find the year, and then we'll know. We'll get IT on that right here, right away. And then maybe we should cut the recording quick. Let's go watch the episode, Cody, and we'll come back and
No,
we'll recap that at the end as well.
no,
Um,
we're gonna have 2 weeks steering the season when there's Olympics. So we'll have a
sure.
little break when we
Okay.
get fill time.
We'll do a Law and Order SVU Brian Justin Crum deep dive. Um,
So real quick, Law and Order SVU season 12 was 2010 to 2011.
Okay, so
So
that
he did
was
that
about 5 years
before.
before AGT. So you'd
Yes.
have been
Yep.
about 23. Okay, yeah. So that's a little extra thing he did there. He was and then he advanced out of the first round into the finals of Champions One, and was finished in the bottom part of that finals group. And then the interesting piece of trivia, Cody, he progressed since the Golden Buzzer was instituted in season 10. He's the furthest singer to make it in the competition that didn't get a Golden Buzzer since the institution of the Golden Buzzer. So if you don't get a
Okay.
Golden
So
Buzzer as a singer, he's the only one that's gotten to fourth place. No one's gotten higher than fourth place since the institution of the Golden Buzzer on the show. No
okay.
singer. So kind of an interesting piece of trivia there. I'm trying to think if anybody else also got fourth in terms of solo singers that didn't get a goal. Voices of Service was fourth their year, but that was a group. So that's a little bit different. Yeah, I think Michael Ketterer was fourth. So but he was a Golden Buzzer. So yeah, it's if you unless you get a Golden Buzzer as a singer, your chances of getting very high anymore doesn't seem to be too good. So that's kind of a breakdown of Brian. And so we have 5 powerhouse performances to get through, Cody. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dive in.
yeah, and I was real quick trying to look at his episode in auditions, and he was in episode 3. And Malivo, the Malambo group, got the Golden Buzzer in his
For Judge
episode.
Cuts. For Judge Cuts.
Oh, is that Judge Cuts? No,
Yeah, he
that's
was
yeah. There's you're right. You're
yeah,
right.
Malivo was George Lopez's
Yep.
Golden Buzzer in that Judge Cuts. Yeah, I don't know what audition he was, but he was the last act of the night, they said.
Okay.
That day. So should we dive into the audition?
Yes.
Okay. The audition, he comes out and he's going to sing one of the all-time great songs. Really, really terrific songs. Now, Cody, are you a Queen fan?
So we've talked about how much I like Flair and how much I like big time things.
Pizzazz.
So what do you want to guess that the only really Queen song I know?
We will, or We Are the Champions.
No, well, there's We Are the Champions, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
so
right.
you're not a Queen fanatic.
I'm not a fanatic, but I am familiar with Queen. I haven't seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm not
It's
saying
not
I
bad.
won't see it. I'm not saying I won't see it. I just haven't seen it yet. So
yeah, okay. I do like Queen. I'm not like a huge expert on Queen. They're far before my time. Mid 1990s was when I joined the Earth. So I'm a little bit late for being deep into them. But this might be my favorite Queen song. I really like this song. Somebody to love.
And I think Queen made a comeback in the 90s because of Wayne's World.
Okay, Wayne's World. Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Somebody to Love by Queen. That's what he's going with. It opens kind of the first shot is one of the producers at the judges table going, this is the last one of the day, last one of the night. So he was the last one. Tom Cotter told us he was one of the last ones when he was on it, and he was there at like 10 o'clock auditioning. So we know this was late into the evening, last one of the night, and what a way to end it. He comes out and we kind of get to know Brian a little bit and kind of his story, and the gist of his story is he was bullied heavily as a kid for being a gay man, and that was kind of his major struggle in life, and that's kind of what's hit home, and his mom is kind of there for him and was all that. And once you get into the performance, that just kind of goes away, and you're just you're struck by him. He's in his, and here's the thing about this performance. He fools you like the first time. If this is the first time you ever watched him, he fools you with the first note. So he starts with the high falsetto, high pitched note. And you're like, oh, this guy's going to be kind of like a fancy singer, kind of high pitch, softer. And then, it's just, it's home run hitting the rest of the way.
Yes.
What did you think?
He's just hitting with every note. He's just hitting dingers.
And he is the epitome of big notes get votes. my
Absolutely.
line.
Yes.
He's my guy. He's literally the hallmark, the poster boy for that idea, because it's just one it's just one big note after another. What stood out for you in this audition?
Yeah, I want to go back to the intro real quick. So we did get right off the bat, and I'm not making any light of it. Bullying is not okay. It's not condoned at all. But we get the America's Got Feels right off the bat.
Mhm.
Just comes out, just says it immediately. But then, like you said, once he just starts singing, you completely forget all of that. It's
Yeah.
not about the feels anymore. It is about his singing. As I just said, he was hitting dingers with every single note. Every note was clear, precise, on point. He was. I mean, it's like he was. It's like he is the cleanup hitter
Yeah.
on a baseball team. He was just
Mhm.
everything was just it was just strong and powerful and loud, but it was clear. It wasn't
Mhm.
overdone. Um,
Yeah.
he can move about the notes like nobody's business. It was incredible.
Yeah, he has range. He has total control of what he's doing. Um, that we've seen, you can see a power singer who it can get away from them a little bit at times,
Yeah.
where they're
Yep.
just in a belt, and that's they're just in the belt, and they're just going to live in it, and if it goes awry, so be it. He has like a rasp to him that's not, it's like a rasp that's smooth at the same time. Like, is he the perfectly smooth voice? No, because there is some I don't know, character to his voice a little bit. It's not just, smooth all the way through, but it never feels like it's croaky or anything like that. It's an interesting mix. Um, the thing about this performance is it's kind of gets, there's like a false finish to the performance. So he gets like to the end, it feels like, and then he just keeps hitting like six more huge notes, because you can tell, because like the judges look like they're about to be done and they're ready to clap, and then he hits another one and they're looking around, and he hits another one and they're looking, and he's like, no, I'm just gonna keep going. Um, Judges' comments from his auditions, how he said he found, he was looking the song "Somebody to Love." Well, you found everybody to love you tonight. Mel B said you took us to church and back, which I actually thought was kind of a clever little line. He's kind of got a church, like he could kill it as a church singer, I think.
Yeah.
And then she gets into a risky line. Cody, you haven't seen the judges' comments, if I'm correct. You didn't watch clips with those.
That's correct. The videos that I watched did not have the judges'
Okay.
comments.
Mel B says, "If I weren't married and you were straight, we would totally we would totally get together." She says, um, two pretty big hurdles to clear in order for them to end up together. But if they were able to clear those two hurdles, Mel B said we would. And she goes back to it a little bit about how much she likes him. She ends up being his biggest advocate as the season goes on. Heidi said you showed all those people who were mean to you and that kind of thing, and you gave everything. And then and Simon was really good at judging him the whole, and Simon's great. We haven't done a ton of Simon acts, people where Simon's been judged. I think we might only be uh in terms of a rewatch, Christian Guardino. I don't think we've had. I think we've been watching every other judge besides
Yeah.
Simon pretty much so far,
Yeah.
and
We've
Shinlin.
done a lot. We've done a lot of Howard. Yeah.
Yeah. So Simon says every ounce of you came out. Fantastic singer, grabbed the opportunity, and he kind of makes a note. How about Simon's like, I could tell this is the biggest performance of your life, and Brian's like, yeah, this is by far the biggest one, and you gave it all. He gets 4 yeses. Very very complimentary from the judges. Anything else from auditions that stood out to you?
Yeah, the one thing that really that stuck out to me as well is with Simon is just as he was watching this guy, as he was watching BJC, like
Mhm.
dollar signs were just rolling through
Yeah,
his eyes. I mean,
yeah,
it's like
yeah. I mean, if he was like 19, Simon would have golden buzzed him, even if he didn't have one left. He still would have hit it, and he would have walked up there and been like, I gotta, you're
let's just
coming with
sign him
me.
now.
We're
Yeah.
yeah, you're on my team. The fact he was 28, Simon, it ends up not working out that way, which is a bummer for him. But that, and you can tell things are going well for a singer when Simon starts like
Hmm.
laughing, smiling because he's so impressed. Um, he had that. I mean, it was, and I think this was as low of a performance as he had. I still think the next
Yes.
four are. There's not one worse than this one. I don't think.
No, he doesn't. He
Because I
doesn't have
thought,
really a bad performance. No.
no, certainly not. But
No.
in terms of if you're actually putting them in their rankings, I think this might be 5 out of 5 in terms of
Yeah.
where it sits in his top 5 performances. And like it's crazy. It's I thought there was parts of this that were a little choppy and a little bit kind of, the song is not necessarily a great talent show song because it's kind of all over the place, and there's a lot of same, like you would never do Bohemian Rhapsody except for her name Angelina Jordan did and got a
Yeah.
golden buzzer, but in its original form you would never do it because it's Queen to a T, where it's kind of all over the place and about 18 different things happen in the song. So it only goes up from here. Anything else, I scored it as a 4.8 out of 5.
Yeah.
And
Just
it does get better,
yeah.
amazingly enough.
Yeah, just real quick before we move on to the next thing, just watching Simon and Howie, maybe the way that kind of Simon is just absorbs these singers. He kind of tilts his head a
Mm,
little bit and he just listens. I think was it in 15 that he just turned to one of the guest judges and said, just listen to him. Or no, he turned to Sophia and
Sophia.
in auditions and just said, just listen, just close your eyes
Yeah,
and just listen.
I
So it's
believe
just the
it was
way he kind
Roberta.
of
It was for Roberta Battaglia. He's like, just close your eyes and
it
listen to her, and then she got the golden buzzer from Sophia.
yes, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just when he does something like that to some of these great singers where he just kind of not even just closes out, but kind of just turns his head, just listens and doesn't really
Hmm.
react. Just things are running through his head at that point.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 yeses, like I said, and he's off to the next round. I'm interested to know if they had any golden buzzers left, because that was, from a talent standpoint and moments within a performance standpoint, certainly had golden buzzer tendencies at the very least to it. But ultimately, he's just a 4 yeses, and thank God he didn't get the golden buzzer, because then we got him at judge cuts,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we got the performance of a lifetime
Well,
at judge cuts.
and for golden buzzers, real quick, with golden buzzers, we know in later seasons that's never stopped Simon. Was I think even 15, he took one of Howie's golden buzzers.
Yeah, yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah. Um, we're on to the judge cuts. It's Cody texted me today about this performance after he watched it. And what was the gif? What was the meme you used? What did it say on it?
it said it was like goosebumps. Like
Yeah, yeah, or yeah, some
yeah, it says it's just I don't know who it is, but it's like I get chills all over my body, and I just went
yeah,
hashtag creep.
yeah. So hashtag creep. He comes out and he's gonna do Creep by Radiohead. Now, Radiohead, one of the top handful of bands of the 90s, was Creep. It was kind of, as into the 2000s, it was like you're either a Radiohead or Coldplay, and you kind of had to take your pick, and like you're taking sides on those two. But Radiohead, one of the all-time bands, this one of their all-time songs is this on the Cody Patterson playlist. The original,
It
so the rendition Brian did was similar in pace, but it wasn't similar in style and how he sang it. The original is it sounds like a song that would be titled "Creep." What this song is? It a Cody Patterson playlist song?
so a lot of rock and pop songs from the late 90s, early 2000s. I was late on those. So it's on there now. It wasn't on there originally. Back then I was more into the country. So
Right.
you're going to hear more of that from our season 2 rewatch where we talk about some country songs.
You were more heavy
But
into the Garth Brooks. You were
I
into
was more
Garth
heavy into
Brooks,
the Garth Brooks. Yes. So,
most successful singer of all time,
so Creep,
statistically.
so Creep is on there now. It wasn't on
Okay.
there originally. Yeah.
Okay. So he comes out and he actually says something really cool when they're talking to him before his performance. Is it? It might have been George Lopez asked him what he wants to, like, what's his goals, and basically he says, "I want to make people feel when I perform. I want to make people feel things." And Cody, he did. He gave Cody
Yeah.
goosebumps. I think it's a really profound statement. It's super simple, but I think it is profound, and I think that encapsulates, when you look back at some of your all-time favorite AGT performances and acts, a lot of them, when you look back, the reason you remember it because you remember feeling like good or sad or happy or something when they perform, like it triggered something in you because you actually were feeling something. There's a lot of acts that walk out there and I'm dead inside during their performance. I don't feel a thing because it's and they're gone. So
Yep.
I really like that statement. They do another film about kind of his background, but the story starts with the song. and he creates kind of a story arc with this song of slow to start in epic epic explosion in the middle. I mean, the notes and the length of the notes he's hitting when he goes kind of, I don't know if that's the chorus necessarily or what it is. It's kind of a song that doesn't really have like, it's a weird laid out song, but ultimately when he goes for it, it's you turn, if you're watching with someone, you start laughing. Like you turn and you laugh because it's that good. I have it on, I think I have multiple times I've posted that clip on TikTok, so you guys can go watch it if you're not watching this performance. Cody, thoughts on this judge cuts? I'll probably have some more as we go here, but what it's a standout performance. What stood out to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, and you've pretty much covered a lot of it, that it's the up and down of his voice and the way that he builds up to it. He tells a story. It's almost like a movie. You start out, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of given the intro, it starts real slow, then it builds up, you hit the climax of the movie, the maybe the plot twist, or you see who the villain is. So you're kind
Mm-hmm.
of getting all that in the middle, but then he brings it right back down to the end, to the resolution of the song. And he does all of this within 90 seconds, 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
of course, it's a condensed version of the song. It's not the whole song, but
Mm-hmm.
he gives you all of these feelings in this 1.5 to 2 minutes of him singing that
Mm-hmm.
you've never really felt before. And I think I watched it 3 or 4 times. Every single time I got these same chills watching
You
this.
get it
Um,
still hits you when he hits those.
yes,
Like you're like
yes,
thunderstruck every single
yeah,
time it happens.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
I went back. So season 11 is when I started doing the podcast, and I went
Mm-hmm.
back and looked at my notes for season 11. I didn't start until I think quarterfinals. Um, I think I
Okay.
started doing the podcast in the live show. So I went back and looked, and I couldn't find my notes from back then, but I remember not feeling this at that
Okay.
point. I remember thinking, "Oh, it's just another singer. He's okay."
This was back
I
when
don't.
Cody was more cynical. I think this
I
was
think I
the
was.
yeah.
Yes, I was more. Yes, and I was more. I mean, I still love my variety acts and my magic acts, but I didn't have the respect for some of these singers that I have today.
Mm-hmm.
We've watched a lot of acts over the last. I've been doing this 4 years now. I've been doing this. This will
Mm-hmm.
be my fifth season coming up that I'll have covered, and uh, just what I've watched and what I've learned since season 11. I have now, I feel I mean, we talk about, I like big shiny flashy things, but I feel like I've
Yeah.
grown more since season 11, and especially rewatching him, I have better understanding, what these singers are doing now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's to me. So the I scored it a 5. It's a perfect
Yeah, you
score.
should.
It's the best.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And if you look at it in my rankings, it is one of only one, two, three, four, five. It's one of only 6 perfect scores I've ever handed out. I mean, it's in that conversation of top 5 greatest performances in the history of America's Got Talent.
Do you
The
want to
fact that it,
go real? You want to go real quick and talk about what the others are?
yeah,
Can you
yeah, I
do it
will.
quickly?
Yeah, I can. So Shin Lim's audition, Shin Lim's judge cuts, Shin Lim's semifinals,
Wow.
Darcy Lynn's finale, double
Okay.
puppet,
Yep.
little help from my friends, Danilia Tula Shova audition,
Oh my goodness.
Brian Justin Crum judge cuts. That's it. That's the
Okay.
6. And if I had to pick a number 1 out of that, to me, it's either Shin Lim audition or Darcy Lynn final or this judge cuts. Those to me are
Okay.
the top 3. Those to
Okay.
me are the top 3.
Okay.
It's that
Yeah.
good. It starts slow, the explosivity in the middle, and the end is incredible because it's like a workout. Like like you feel like once he gets down to where he's finishing really soft, you're out of breath and you didn't do a dang thing. But
Yes.
you like yeah, thank you for like I need that cool down period because that was and he gets a nice little edit from the editors at the end where they elongate the pause like
Mhm.
that was clearly edited in post. But it's cool. It adds to the whole like But you do notice no one started standing up and cheering during the song, like auditions. Auditions, he hits one big note in auditions and the whole crowd is freaking out and
Yeah.
they're going for it.
Yeah. There's a
They all
couple of
stay.
girls they kept going to that kept getting excited about what
He
he was
had
doing.
people
Yeah.
crying. He had people
Yeah.
crying in the stands, but they were quiet, and it was a perfect setting for this song, like the perfect setting, a very intimate stage when it comes, an intimate theater, quiet, dark, everything's dark, and it's just him, the mic, and the backing track, and it is home. It is. This one wasn't home run after home run. It was the big moment for him. Judge comments on this were again very, very nice. Simon says, when you come on a show like this, you got to find your own lane, and if you can turn a song into performance, people remember you, and he's been doing that. You're breathtaking. I think it's a good point. You do need to be able to turn a song into performance, and not a lot of singers can do it. Mel B kind of gets into the point of you took your time, you told the story, and then you explode in the middle, and then to go from that big to that small at the end is she said genius, and I think she's right. She says she loves him. Heidi says you give me the chills, so you're basically Heidi, Cody. Um, you sing with passion. You're one of the best singers this season. Yeah, Cody's doing the Heidi goggles there. And then Howie kind of goes into a little thing about, we all feel sometimes like we're the creep or the weirdo, and you know you think you're alone, but then you find out you're not, and all of that. And it was just a wonderfully moving rendition. Perfect. We didn't actually get to hear from George Lopez on this one, which I'm not sure why. Anything, it feels like we're shorthanding this performance because of how good it is, but we also probably have been talking about it for like 10 minutes at the same time. Anything else we should add to this performance before we move on to the live shows?
Just one final thought, that the judges are always saying that you got to do each time you perform, you have to go bigger and do better.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure he peaked, but I think
No,
he's going to stay.
yeah,
He's going to stay consistent
yeah. I
each
think he
performance.
peaked because it doesn't. I mean, this is the single greatest singing performance in America's Got Talent history. But
Yeah.
so he did peak, but it's not a
Yeah.
precipitous drop
Right.
off by any means. It's just, but I don't think this performance plays as well live in the Dolby Theater as it does in this judge cuts. Like I think this was the setting for this song. I think it was the perfect time for it.
Okay.
Um, it was something else. Cody, I've watched this performance over the last 4 years so many times. It's this one and Grace
Yeah.
Vanderwaal's audition are the two that I've rewatched more than any other. This probably takes the cake, and I suggest to people who have watched it go and watch people reacting to it on YouTube, because the faces of people watching this when he goes to the big moment in the song is some of the more satisfying stuff to watch, because they're seeing it for the first time. You're like, here comes, they're gonna be, because they might be like, oh yeah, he's got a
Yeah.
nice voice, this is nice, and then
Yeah.
boom, and they're like, it's the best. I love this guy. It's an awesome performance. And he's on to the live shows. He gets a
Yeah.
nice little deal.
I don't think if he'd done the song, we're going to talk about it here in a second. If he had done his quarterfinal song during judge cuts, it would not have the same impact.
No, this was the
Yeah.
perfect song, the perfect rendition. Everything just
Yeah.
worked out. It was a perfect confluence of events to create the best singing performance we've seen, best vocals. So he's on to the live shows. He gets into the third quarterfinal. So there was three back then, 12, 12 acts in each one. He's in the third one, which was post um, Olympics that year. So he had an extra 2 weeks. So they did two quarterfinals, 2 weeks of um, Olympics, and then it was the third quarterfinal. So there was that extra time in there. So
Yeah, but a
uh,
singer, do they really have that
yeah,
much?
for him, it's really not a huge deal at all.
Yeah.
But just kind of an interesting layout
Who
of how
who
he
else was
was.
in that? Who else was in that quarterfinals? Do you have that in
Grace
front of you?
Vanderwaal closed.
Okay.
I remember that, and they did a funny thing for the the results episode of that quarterfinal. They called her and him up as the two on the chopping block, and they're looking at each other like, what the hell is going on? We are so much better than everybody else, and the judges are looking around like, what? No, one of these can't. And then it's a both of them, and they're all like, but they're like, everybody's looking around like, it wasn't even like subtle. Like I get like picking one of them and then someone else went through, but you pick the clear, maybe two best of the whole season. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
this isn't making sense. Something's wrong. So you gotta
Yeah.
they tip their hand. But you have
Yeah,
other names from that quarterfinal?
Yeah, just real quick. So Passing Zone was in there. They don't really need that extra time because they've been doing the
Doing it
same
for
act. They've been doing it
20 years.
since season one. They've been doing the same
Right.
act. Malivo's in there. They've probably been doing the same thing. Velo, Vair, Ronnie, Caden Barton Rocket. He probably needed some extra time, but didn't really help
Yeah.
him any.
No.
Lincoln Bridge, Alan, and Daniel.
Paula and
Uh,
Daniel. Yeah, they're dancers.
yeah,
Or Howie was pretty mean to them.
ballroom dancers. Yeah,
Did
they
they
got a
get the
buzz from
X?
Howie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they got the
Howie was
X from
like, it's the
Howie.
same. Howie's like, it's the
Uh,
same every time. He was so bad.
Blake Voigt,
Oh
Edgar
yeah,
was in that group, so they
I
probably
do
needed
love
some
it. I
extra
did love
time.
Edgar.
Yeah, Julia
Um,
Scotti, stand-up comedian, she probably needs some extra time.
yeah, not my
And that's
favorite
and
comedian.
Malivo. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay, yeah. So quarterfinals, he pulls out. I would say, I mean, I'm positive this is a Cody Patterson repeat playlist song
so yeah, the rest of the songs I've been listening to for years.
for years. So he goes,
Yeah.
he taps into Phil Collins, one of the great songs where everybody likes to play the drum part at the end. Yeah, the Mike
Yep.
Tyson Hangover song, all of that. It is In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, a great stadium song
Yep.
during timeouts potentially or pregame stuff like that. Just one of the all-time classic rock songs. And he performed ninth of 12 that night. And he comes out, and this is the beginning of the hey, Brian Justin Crum is not just a singer. He also puts on the greatest party with lights and lasers and stuff on
Yeah.
Earth. And it turns into, I mean, it is so over the top. And I think it's the next one might even be more over the top. But
Yes.
it
Where he's on
really
the
starts to,
platform.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's the finals. But the
Okay. Okay.
semifinals, I think, is where we got a lot of colorful lasers.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
one, I
Yeah.
think, was less lasers. But I mean, it gets this is like the production's like, all right, we're gonna have a little fun. Like we could every effect we've talked about using over the years, let's just dump them all onto onto Brian's performance. He goes In the Air Tonight. It's a great song choice. I don't know if there's a bad song choice for him, but it goes well. What do you remember for what stood out to you from the quarterfinals performance?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, you have the drum solo. I think this is the song I really remember the most. Of course, I had to, this is when I started covering it back in season
Mhm.
11. So, this is the song I really remember him doing the most. I remember the most that he did.
Yeah.
And it really struck with me because these are songs that I know that I'm familiar with. I
Mhm.
enjoy the performances more when I recognize the song.
Right.
So I had so much fun with this song. It has the drum solo. He actually had drummers. There were actual musicians on the stage
Yes, and the
with him.
drummers were going hard, man.
They were,
I mean,
yes, yes,
they were swinging like for the fences. They're like, this guy's gonna be
yes,
swinging for home runs. We better swing for some home
yeah.
runs too.
So I think it would have worked with a backing track, but it was way better with actual
Mhm.
drummers on the stage. But like you said, they were going at it. They were whacking it hard. Uh, and I think that added so much more to the performance that
Yeah.
the instrumentals almost made the song more than him singing. I mean, him singing is incredible, but it
Mhm.
really elevated it with the actual instrumentals on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure in theater that night, it had to be his three live performances had to be really fun to be in the theater for because the light show and what was going on as well as the big drummers up there and it was loud and it just felt like a huge performance every time. It had to be a lot of fun. Quarterfinals comments. Um, Howie, or excuse me, Simon says the whole theater was on their feet for you. You take song and you turn it into your own version, which not everybody can do. You're getting better and better. You're an amazing artist, a great person, amazing singer, great performer. Heidi says, I love you. Best in the night. This is your moment. Mel B says, you just keep getting hotter and hotter. Um, Seasoned and professional. You own the stage and you own this whole theater. You can sing and look good and have everything. And Howie just said it was epic. And that was all he said. He ran out of time.
Yeah.
Simon went a little long. Simon went a little long.
Of course
And
it did.
so
Yeah.
Howie was like, well, you're epic. And that was it. So very, very positive comments. This was again the results show where he and him and Grace VanderWaal got paired together, and everybody just about had an aneurysm at home. I scored it as a 4.8, so now we're looking at 4.8 audition, perfect 5 judge cuts, 4.8 quarterfinals. Fair. Did you like this one markedly more than the audition, or would you say they're pretty comparable?
More than the audition, yes, I liked it more than the audition. I may have even liked it more than the judge cuts, just because it was a song at the time that I was way more familiar with. It had the drums.
Right.
The what he did with Creep was incredible, but I think I just personally enjoyed this one a little bit better.
Yeah, I think from a entertainment standpoint for you, you probably were more entertained by this one.
Yes. Yes.
I think like performance talent singing wise, I think there's a difference there. I think
Yes.
that's probably
Yep.
what we're saying here.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's easily through to the semifinals. I think he gets into the easier semi. If you want to, I don't know if you want to pull that up and
I can
read the
pull that
names
up.
off of that
Yep.
one. I think he may have gotten to the easy. He wasn't in Grace VanderWaal's.
Yeah,
But
he was last in week 2.
yep, he
So
closed.
yep, Jana Brown, Caden Bart Rocket again, Katie Lynn, Victor Key, Lincoln Bridge, Passing Zone, Callista Bevier, Stephen Brundage, Sophie Dossie, and the Clairvoyants.
Yeah, I think that one's slightly easier.
Yeah, the other one
Was
was
Dornbos in
Sal.
there?
The week 1 was Sal, Blake Voigt, Edgar, Lori Mae Hernandez, Musicality, Deadly Games, Tape Face, Doran Boss, Grace, Malivo, and Laura Breton.
Yeah, that one's tougher.
Yeah.
That was a better semi.
Yeah, and I'd forgotten that Grace didn't finish that one. I thought Grace finished
No,
pretty much every
no,
show.
she closed her quarters in the finals. Okay, so we're on to the semifinals. And this one, as we've already, I don't need to go far into it. Another Cody Patterson song. I
Yep.
didn't know the singers of this one. When I was
Tears
looking
for
up,
Fears. Yep.
Tears for Fears. That's I knew the song certainly. It's a
Yep.
classic, but unless I looked it up, I wouldn't have been able to tell you whose song it was. But it's Everybody Wants to
Yeah.
Rule the World by Tears for Fears. It's been redone, I think, hasn't it, multiple times probably. It's probably lots of different
I would say
renditions.
so. Yeah, I would say so. And I was trying to figure out if Tears for Fears was a one-hit wonder, but I don't think they are. I think they have other hits.
Was this an 80s song?
This is an 80s song. Yes.
Yeah, 80s.
Yep.
He went pretty heavy on the 80s for the most part.
Yes, which I
Probably the best.
personally enjoyed. Yep.
I'd say probably the best decade of music was the 80s.
Yeah,
Looking back at
I
it.
would not even argue with that.
Yeah, it's very good, especially rock music. Okay. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. This is where now I start to tell he knows what America wants from him, and that
Yep.
is they want me to hold some notes here that look like my head's gonna explode into smithereens. And not only that, they want lasers, baby, and not just one laser or 2 lasers, but thousands of lasers. Cody, the production team went all out. They brought out all of any laser they could find in the back room was being used in this performance, and if I'm being honest, it was mesmerizing. Um, and you pair the laser light show with how hard he sings. He sings really hard. It was it is a performance that you are kind of enthralled with the whole time, just entranced, and you're like, this is like, how is this free? Like that's kind of like, it's not free because I'm paying for cable, but like this feels like I should be getting charged for this kind of production level. What stood out to you for semifinals?
Yeah, it was like lasers had just come out. It was like this new fad that everyone wanted to use. It's like, man, we got to
Right.
get on that laser
It's
train.
like, hey guys,
And
this new technology, lasers, little bit new, a little bit off the beaten path, but it's time. It's time for
yeah,
lasers.
yeah.
They're about to
They
go
they even
mainstream.
they even lit up the mic stand. Like the mic stand was all lit.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There was not a. It was dark on stage, but once the performance started, it was the brightest place in America at that point.
yeah.
Like it was so bright. What else from the performance? Anything that was like, obviously he's doing a song you like. What did you think of
Yeah.
the rendition and how he arranged it?
I mean, I love all the renditions that he did. I thought they were all on point. He didn't really he honored the original artist. Even with Queen, you could tell it was a Queen song, but then he
Mhm.
really mixed in his own. So he honored the original artist as well as brought in his own personality into it, which I mean that's you just can't argue with that kind of talent.
Right.
It's yeah. So again, it's a song that I love. He does it very well. I think this is probably third on my list of
Yeah,
the performances.
I also scored this a 4.8. So I had the audition, quarters, and semis kind of lumped together in terms of what I thought of the singing of all three. Um, the one part about it that I thought was a little bit off was actually the finish. The finish was huge. It was two enormous notes to finish, but they didn't make sense next to each other. And I don't know if you noticed this when you were watching it, but he hits the everybody wants to rule, and he goes big on rule, and then he also goes big on the world right after, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just choppy, and it didn't make a ton of sense in terms of
Yeah.
how you'd want to organize those two notes. So that was the only gripe, but they were the first of the two big ones was incredible. That was my only main gripe with the song is the finish just didn't it look like it felt like he was just trying now just to hit every next note was gonna blow you away. Um, Judge comments from the semis. At this point, I think a lot of people start to feel like he's a legitimate contender, certainly, and could win this thing. Um, uh, Mel B, she starts off with a bang on her judge comments. She compares him to Beyonce at the Grammys, and says no one else, like when Beyonce came out at the Grammys, no one else mattered. No one else matters tonight but you. You're incredible. Perfection from start to finish. You fill the whole room, and then she just finishes with a big God, I love you. It's at this point I think everybody's like, wow, Mel B really, really likes Ryan Justin. That's who she wanted to win. You can tell as the season goes on. Heidi says she agrees with Mel. You're passionate and intense. Simon says it wasn't perfect. I didn't like the way it started, he said, but you found yourself midway. The second half was exceptional. When we met you, you were kind of the shy. You seemed beaten up by the music industry, but this is your time. You've turned yourself into a performer. You have incredible confidence. Goes a little long, and then Howie says he agrees with everybody. His cohorts have said um, you're ruling the world tonight. This was the strongest and best of the night. You owned it. There was no nerves. Wow. Um, High praise naturally. I mean, outside
Yep.
of Simon kind of saying, "Hey, I didn't. It wasn't your best. I didn't love the beginning." You're just not going to say a lot of mean things about this guy's performances. They're just too good. Anything else from the semis that you want to note before we move on to the finals?
Yeah. So real quick, Tears for Fears, and I'd forgotten this. The some of their biggest hits, Sowing the Seeds of Love, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Shout, Head Over Heels. Those were some of the big hits that I remember from the 80s. So just
Okay.
little Tears for Fears discography there for you.
All right. So Tears for Fears, they were not just a one hit wonder, is what
No,
you're
they
saying.
were not. No, no.
Okay. So we're moving on to the greatest night of live television, maybe ever. The season 11 finals. Um, it has a special place in my heart, Cody. I've watched start to
Yes,
finish
I know. I know. Yeah.
this episode like 10 minimum 10 times. Um, I've watched the performances from it more than that. And this is one that I watch a lot as well. He was 6 out of 10 that night. If you want a full dive into it, I really do recommend going back and listening to our season 11 finale rewatch episode. It's a good episode, and we get really deep into all 10 performances of the night, which were great. But he goes with um, the
Man
king,
in the Mirror. Yes.
the king of
No,
pop,
the King of Pop. That's right.
the king of pop, Michael Jackson. He goes man in the mirror. All right, Cody, let's do this. I'm assuming you're not just a Man in the Mirror fan, but a Michael Jackson fan in general. Um,
Yes. I had
where
the
does
his
this sit? Oh, what's
well,
that?
I was gonna say I had the His Story compilation Michael Jackson
Okay,
set.
okay. All time Michael Jackson, not Jackson 5, but Michael Jackson solo song. Where does this sit?
Oh
What's
boy,
your
that's a
top
long
five?
list. Okay, well, top five, obviously Bad, Thriller. Shoot, I'm gonna have to get
Billie
that.
Jean.
Yeah, Billie Jean's up there. Go ahead and vamp for a moment. Let me get the
Okay.
list up. Hold
Um,
on.
Vamp. No. So the opening to this. is actually a really fun, a really cool one. And I know we complain and gripe, especially not me, not so much as you and maybe Jay, about the America's Got Feels of things. But if you go back and watch the opening film about him for this one, it was actually a really moving thing. It was all these people leaving clips for him of them talking about how his story and journey on the show have helped them and what they've struggled with in life. And he's very emotional. He's crying. He's watching it. It's a cool setup. It's like on a projector and this on this wall. And again, we gripe about it, but this one was bigger than just trying to sell a story about Brian Justin Crum. It was actually how he's helping, impacting, and affecting people. And I just thought it was a cool open. And Simon kind of notes about it after as well. But that's kind of the lead in before it's the calm before the storm. What did you find your top five, Cody?
I did. So it's kind of, it's still, I mean, it's five, but it's, it could be any, one of these, but there, of course, Billie Jean, Beat It, Smooth Criminal, um, Bad, Scream,
Mhm.
Thriller. So, any one of those, Black or White, any one of those is going to be on the list. I
Okay.
don't have, usually I have my iTunes up. I don't have it. I
Mhm.
don't have my stuff hooked up right now. I could go through and figure out how many times I've listened to these songs, but
Right.
I've
So
listened
Man in the
to a lot
Mirror,
of Michael Jackson. Yeah.
is it, you think, one of the all-time greats though for him?
For him, yeah, it's on probably the top 10. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So he arranges it a little bit differently. It's not a huge detour from the tempo and the pace of the song. In terms of how he sang it, in way he made notes for himself was different. And then obviously it's all abridged and chopped up and moved around for time. Um, it's a it's a really incredible performance. I think his second best performance of the season, after the judge cuts. He gets another just sweetheart deal from the producers and the stage production. They put him on the
Yes.
largest rising platform in the history of American television. It's it's this enormous like block. I don't know what
Yes.
it's got to be 10 by 10, 10 feet by 10 feet,
I would say
and
so.
then
Yes.
it goes up 14 feet. So it's rising the whole song, and then it's finally at the peak once he hits the big finish. Um, but
It
he
has a
kind of
projection
played.
screen on the front. It has a
Yeah,
projection
I
screen
mean
on the
it's
front.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this is the so they allocated the budget for the year for the season 11, and they
Yeah.
got to the finals like, guys, we're way under budget. We're so far under budget. We were tighten the purse strings, and they spent it all on this stage for Ryan Justin Crum's finals. They spent the rest of their budget on this enormous rising stage. Um, and I just think it was helpful to the whole aura of him, but at the end of the day, you could have put him behind a wall, and as long as you could hear him singing, it didn't really matter. He was that good. Um, he kind of arranged it similarly to the judge cuts, where he let it build a little bit. Like it wasn't pedal to the metal 0 to 60 from the start. There was a little build up to it. He kind of would sing it like, normal, and then he hit a big note, and then it was back to normal. And then at the end, the final note, his head looks like it's gonna blow up. His veins are popping everywhere. He's so red, and you can tell he is just exhausted by this point. What stood out to you for the finals for Brian Dissencrum?
So he doesn't need all this flair. I love stage production, and I
Mm-hmm.
think mainly I love instrumentals and backup singers on the stage, but he doesn't need all this other flair. I love
Right.
flair, I love flash, I love pizzazz, but he doesn't need all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this was him going to AGT. It probably wasn't. It's probably
Right.
AGT
No.
doing all this. I doubt he went to AGT and said, "Hey, can you like put me on a giant 10 by 10 riser?"
I need to talk. What's the mechanism of us getting this done? I need this ASAP. I, I need this stage I need to be 14 feet in the
Yeah, yeah,
air.
yeah.
uh,
Uh, and can you get me like a bunch of lasers while you're at it? I mean, and with a projection screen on the front. So this
yeah,
is AGT like doing all this, but he
yeah, for
doesn't
sure.
need it. His voice his voice speaks for itself.
Hmm.
It's all about the music. I understand if he's doing a rock concert or he's doing some Broadway show and he needs all of this stuff, but he really doesn't. For AGT, he doesn't need any of this. I'm
Hmm.
going to repeat it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's an interesting thought of did it end up hurting him in the long run, where people felt like it
Hmm.
was overproduced potentially of
No.
why he finishes fourth. Um, maybe, but yeah, I think you're right. There was after once he hit the live shows, there was no stripped down performances, right? And we've talked about
Right.
somewhere where we've they Christian Guardino talked about they got rid of everything and it was just him, piano or guitar or whatever it was, and some lights, just some mirrors or lights behind him, like that was it.
Yeah.
They never did that with him. Everything was stripped up.
Yes.
It was not stripped down.
Yeah.
Everything was dressed up to the nines and way over the board, overboard, or over the top. I think a lot of time gets negative connotations, but it was just a lot. It was a lot, and it was huge.
Yes.
And they went for it, good, bad, or otherwise. Judges' comments from the finale. Mel B was literally just like hopping up and down, dying, laughing after his performance because she was just, she loved him. She said every time stunning. She's talking while he's not even there yet because he's trying to get down from the road, the rise, the previously
Yeah.
risen
Yeah. How
scene.
long did it
So
take
she's
him to
just
get down from that?
she got about halfway through her comments and then he finally kind of turned the corner and was like walking up to Nick. So he was there for part of hers, but the first half she was just talking to Nick. Um, every time stunning, risky song that paid off. You made it your own. Those notes and the power are undeniable. I love you. Heidi says no one sings with as much drama and intensity. Um, um, you were singing for your life today or $1 million. And fantastic. Simon said at the start he thought the song was a huge mistake and that he totally blew it for himself. But halfway through, he realized you made the best decision of your life. So that's quite the 180 from Simon there. From huge mistake to best decision of your life. You're incredible. You're a naturally brilliant performer. Howie said it was epic. I like the Michael Jackson version better, but that's all subjective. The performance was epic. Couldn't have been bigger or more wonderful. And told everybody to vote. Um, Interesting. Two different people talked about the riskiness of that song, and Simon even went as far to say he thought it was a mistake initially. Did you get that sense at all?
I'm sorry. Say that again. One more time.
Oh, were you doing the Cody Patterson ignore while I
I
was talking to
was.
you again?
I wasn't ignoring. I was sorry. It's got to happen once. It's got to
You
happen
want me
once
to
a
run?
podcast, right?
You want me to run through the judges' comments again?
No, don't go through the whole judges' comments. Just
Okay.
that last
Did you?
15 seconds.
Okay, so I said multiple, Simon and Mel B both kind of commented about the song choice and being
Oh yeah, yeah,
risky.
yes.
And Simon went as far as to say he thought it might have been a mistake initially. Did you get a sense of that at all? Like when you started
I
listening,
no,
ooh, what's this call?
no. I don't think he made a mistake at all. I thought it was a perfect song choice. I think any of the songs, all the songs that he picked, I thought were perfect song choices. He made it his own.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't rely totally on the way that, like, I don't think he could sing it the way Michael Jackson sings it.
Right, and
I
how he
think
noted that he liked
yeah,
Michael's version. So clearly there was a discrepancy between the two versions.
yes, which is fine.
Yeah.
I think you can like both versions. I think,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not up there dancing and doing the moonwalk like Michael Jackson. He's doing it himself.
Well, if
And
he
I
moonwalked,
thought
he would have died, Cody, because he would have
that's
fallen
true because
directly out
well,
of the stage.
well,
Yeah.
he can move walk back on the platform. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I don't know.
Real quick, was this also? I think I had this up. Were there? And you may have mentioned this earlier when I was looking up the Michael Jackson songs.
I probably everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so there were images of himself on the screen behind him.
Oh, like not Jarrell head though.
It was like pictures of Brian Justin Crum like behind him, like
Oh,
on the
okay. I didn't know.
projection
I didn't
screen.
even notice that. I didn't even notice
Yeah,
that.
and
They
he's
did
wearing like
a.
a
Oh, go ahead.
he's wearing like a sharp tuxedo, and then like behind him, there's like pictures of him like mirrored and looking at
Okay.
himself.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
notice that.
yeah,
There was
yeah.
in the semifinals, Callie Bevier. It was either semifinals or quarterfinals. It's quarterfinals. They used the Jarrell head for her. So she was a float. She was singing, and behind her there was a floating uh, Callie Bevier head singing. It was a great performance, and it was awesome. I loved it. But yeah, so this I don't know, maybe production peaked in 11 in terms of the amount of stuff they were throwing darts at the wall in 11 and see what stuck. But yeah, it was an amazing performance. You go through it, and when you go back, because I know y'all are going to, and listen to our season 11 finale rewatch,
Yeah.
Cody, you were very negative about this performance. I believe you ranked him like sixth best of the night that night.
Probably.
Are you regretting that looking back at
Uh,
it now?
I mean, regret's kind of a big word. I think I would adjust it
Okay.
I think if we
The
went back
fact.
again, I think I would
Okay.
adjust it.
Okay. Now we didn't talk. This didn't get talked about enough, Cody.
Yeah.
We did a season 11 finale rewatch. You had him
Yes.
middle of the pack in his finals, and then you picked him as the best act of all time in our March Madness bracket.
Well, sometimes those
A little
matchups just work.
consistency, Cody, is all we're
Well, hold
asking
on,
for.
hold on. No. So sometimes in your brackets, when you're matched up in a bracket format, sometimes the
It was
matchups just work
matchups
out.
more than it was his pure that he was purely the
Where it's
best.
ranked one through whatever. Yes, there are
Okay.
matchups that happen,
You
and
wouldn't
all of a
rank
sudden,
him one overall, is what you're saying.
I would not rank him. I would not rank him the best performance overall.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, it was an epic night that night. He ends up finishing fourth. The top five that night went Vanderwall, Clairvoyance, Doran Boss, um, Brian Justin Crum, and Sal Valentinetti. Um, he was on champions. It went fine. Made the finals. We don't need to do much of a dive into that. Should we get into some categories? Anything else you want to do to put a bow on the performances?
No, but I do have a hot take I want to make once we get done with everything.
Okay. Like the very end or during one of these categories?
No, at the very end. When we
Okay.
get done with the categories, I have a hot take I want to make.
That's a radio tease right there, Cody. That's good stuff. Okay. After the break, should Brian Justin Crum have actually even been a singer? We'll talk about it after. Like that's a good tease right there, Cody. Okay. Most rewatchable moment. I mean, it's the easy pick. The judge cuts is the easy pick because it's so incredible. And if you're gonna watch 10 seconds, 12 seconds of his season, it's the middle of that judge cuts performance. Do you want to add anything to this one outside of judge cuts?
I think the quarterfinals would also be on that list for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think if someone's like, hey, you only got two, hey, you got to go to bed. You only got two watches left. Those would be the two you'd want to
Yes.
watch.
Yes.
If mom's like, turn off the YouTube, kid. It's time for bed. Like, just two
Yeah.
more. Those would be the two.
Yep.
Okay. Judging, again, you missed the judge comments, but from some of the stuff I said, anything that stood out to you in the comments, I thought Simon was just really good all season. Simon never is going to be the panderer. He was very complimentary the whole time, certainly, but he did note two different times where he felt like while he was listening that it didn't go perfectly, or he felt like this could be a mistake or whatever. So I just thought Simon,
Simon.
Simon, Simon as a whole, the whole season was really good. Anything that stood out to you in either best or worst?
I think Mel B's comment about if you weren't gay and I wasn't married.
Yeah, I think so. In my old blog, I actually commented about that. I said it was an all-time line. I thought it was hilarious 3 years ago. I still think it's kind of funny. So I'm not gonna say I zagged because it's still not great judging, but I thought it was funny. But yeah, the judges were fine. The whole, and I shouldn't say fine. I thought they were actually very good. A lot of them, especially Mel B and Simon, added some good anecdotes about the construction of the performances and things like that. Tyra Banks Memorial Bad Hosting Moment Award. I mean, it's Nick, so
It's Nick.
It's picking nits, as we've said before. When you're trying to determine here, you just had one moment you noticed, maybe not bad moment, but just a moment in general from his audition. What was it, Cody?
It's just when Brian Justin Crum BJC is ready to sing, he just turns to Nick and just says, or I think says, "I'm ready."
Gives him a thumbs up.
Gives him a thumbs up. Yeah, and then Nick turns to production and says, "Okay, hit it."
Hit it. Like the production's like waiting for Nick to be like, Nick, are we good to go? Nick he's running the whole show. Yeah, I also, when I watched that today, I was like, why is Nick saying hit it? I love it. That might also fall into best unintentional comedy moment too, a little bit, because it's not funny, but at the same time, it's like, that's kind of funny. Like, what are you doing? Okay. Really, this is the meat and potatoes of this podcast now, is the second half of our categories, which usually involves where do these people stack up. Let's actually go walk or run first today, because I think it's the least interesting one because he's a singer.
Yeah, there's really no
Is he a one
right
of one,
answer.
Cody? Like, is he a one of one? And what I mean by that is, for people
Uh,
who don't know what that means, is he the
yeah.
only one of his type? Now, as a singer, like, has there been a male singer who has gone as big on this show and just gone non-opera, the huge notes that he hits? Is he a one of one? Is anybody comparable
Uh,
to him that you remember?
yeah, that's a good question, and I don't have my entire list of singers in front of me
Right.
to really say that.
I do, Cody.
Okay,
Um,
good. See, that's why we bring you on, because
yeah.
you're the researcher here.
So obviously, like, Neely Boyd hit nothing but big notes, because opera
Okay.
singers, for the most part,
Yeah.
it's like, that's the thing, is you're always in a belt for the most part in opera. But it's nothing like Brian Justin Crum's performances. Certainly, there's no laser lights going on behind Neely Boyd. It's not Neely
Yeah.
Boyd's not singing at a rave.
Same thing with
Okay,
Jackie Ivanko.
right? Yes. So
Yeah.
so opera singers, I think, are almost a class of their own in terms of the way that performances are constructed.
But now he's Broadway, so is that similar?
Who's that?
You said Brian Justin Crum is
Oh,
Broadway.
yeah, he's Broadway, but he's not. These weren't Broadway performances by any
Okay.
means.
Okay.
These were grab the mic and blow everybody away performances. The one, and it's not even necessarily comparable, because you look at some of the other great male singers. You have a lot of you have some crooners, whether it's Landau and Sal. Guardino was kind of, he wasn't a crooner, but he's a little bit more soulful and kind of more down that lane. The New York guy, you know what I mean? And then you're looking at like Grimm and Michael Ketterer. Adult male singers haven't been the calling card for this show, especially the last 7 or 8 seasons. Sheldon Riley. I don't know if you remember Sheldon Riley. He was on this
I
last
do.
season. He wore
Yep.
the fancy. I thought he was awesome, and I thought he
Yep.
got a bad deal. He should not have been eliminated in the quarterfinals.
Hey,
Um,
America votes. America votes.
they did, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he was eliminated incorrectly, like that America voted him through and they got rid of him. I don't think people appreciated him enough, but his big notes were similar. When he got into huge notes, um, it reminded me of him, and that was the closest thing. And he doesn't even touch him in terms of how good he was on the show. But that's the only one who kind of sang as a powerhouse male voice. Otherwise, a lot of them are female voices. So I think he might be a one of one, Cody. I don't think he walked so somebody else later could run. As we've seen, he's the
Yeah.
highest finishing non-golden buzzer singer, since the institution of the golden
That
buzzer in
that sounds like an ESPN stat that would be thrown out.
It's a little bit cherry picked, sure,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it is interesting, because it shows that the golden buzzer for singers has been really vital since season 10. Like, if you don't get it, people do have a bias against singers a little bit, as we've seen it, as people hate like, there's a huge faction of the fan base that hates singers, and so part of the ability to overcome that is by getting people through the golden buzzer. But I think he's a one of one. I'm gonna go with that. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I'm going to kind of go ahead and give my hot take here
Okay.
that I teased about a few minutes ago. I think number one singer all time,
On the show.
like just straight up singer, not not with some other gimmick, not with a
Sure.
puppet or band, straight up straight up single singer, best all time on the show.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take at all, Cody. I think it's correct, and that's where I
Okay.
have him,
Okay.
as the number one singer. He actually made a move up the charts on the all-time leaderboard today upon rewatch. I made a couple adjustments. He's now third ever. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the end.
You already spoiled it.
Okay.
Spoiled it.
Yeah, but there's a little bit more to it. So,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah, so you're not off base at all. Let's go to.
Does it feel like I've made a heel turn on him in the last
Yeah,
6 months?
Yeah, like you've become, you're carrying the water for Brian Justin Crum at this point. You love him so much. This might be the most interesting one. These next two are really good. Too high, too low, just right. This is a really good too high, too low, just right, because
Yeah.
the
Well,
top four were the top four. Those were the four
yes.
best that season. I think
Yes.
Sal was clearly the fifth, like, not in the top four. He was outside the four. It was those four, a drop off, and then I think Sal, Sophie, Dossie are kind of 5 and 6. That
So you
four
have,
could have been what? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of recap the top four. So of course we had Grace win, Clairvoyant second, Dornbos third, and then he finished fourth.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
arrange those four in any order, and I wouldn't make a huge stink about it. They're all very close. Dornbos to me is actually the worst of the four. Now, from what I enjoyed the most, he's not. I would prefer to go watch him than the Clairvoyants. But from a talent standpoint, I still think the Clairvoyants are ahead of him. I have Brian Justin Crum third all time. I have Grace Vanderwall fifth all time. I have the Clairvoyants seventh all time, and I have then Dornbos down at 20. So there's a little bit of a drop off.
Now, is that based strictly? Is that drop off? Did that drop off hurt him? Well, let me phrase. Let me get this.
Because of his finale
did it drop
performance?
off? Yes. Did his finals
Yeah.
hurt him?
So
his finals hurt him.
So
yeah.
right. So if I were to eliminate his finals performance and turn it into a 4 performance score, he would have been then closer. Probably would have been 15th.
Okay.
So he would have probably jumped about 5 spots or so. So yeah, I mean the finals performance was
tanking.
a real. Yeah, it was a real smudge on his resume when the committee was taking a long look at the resumes. His had a huge blemish on it, and it was that finals. But too high, too low, just right. Now I just said I have him highest ranked all-time leaderboard of anybody on this season. So by default, I would say he should have won. I still think, all things considered, from both the singing and the songwriting, I still like that Grace won. I prefer her. She's my favorite of that season. He's certainly, to me, too low. To me, at worst, he should have been the runner-up. Cody, was he too high, too low, or just right? And let's do this. Let's put those four into the order. Let's just do your top 5 from that season in order.
Well, let me just first say it was Grace's season to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
it was a default victory.
Right. So we've talked about that from the very beginning. It was her season to lose. So she just had to come in and just completely blow it in finals to not win. So I think that one's a given. So the Clairvoyants, I've said this many times, is one of my all-time favorite acts. I've said for a long time they were my all-time favorite. Yeah. I've adjusted it because there's others out there I love now, but they are one of my all-time favorite acts to watch. So I would have put them second. So Dornbos, I love Dornbos, but yes, his finals performance did hurt him some, but I also look at his body of work. And I think his body of work for the entire season was top notch. He did, quote, tank, theoretically, hypothetically, however you want to look at it.
It's the greatest conspiracy theory of our generation, Cody. It really is.
Yes. That no one's talking about. Well, no, you said that. You said Reddit's like all over this conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah, Reddit was all over it the night of the finale. They're like, a flag on the play here. Something there's something fishy going on here. I mean, Reddit was on top of it, and it's a great point because it was weird. It just didn't track. It didn't make sense with the way he was going in that season to suddenly pull back the reins like he did.
So third and fourth you could argue those could be flip-flopped, and I'm going to be a flip-flopper. You could go either way on them, and I would have no issue with it. I think Grace is definitely first. For me, Clairvoyance is second, and then either Dornbos or BJC could be third and fourth. It doesn't really matter. Fifth place was Sal. I loved Sal, but I don't think he got better each week. I thought he still had he kind of put out a score of 8 almost every week. He never. I don't think he ever really hit a 9 or a 10. But he was very solid every single week. So
yeah, I think.
Did that answer it?
Or so are you going to go too low? Are you going to go? Are you saying too low or not?
I think he's right on the edge of that too low or just right. He's right. I mean, he could go one spot higher, and if he did, I would be okay with it.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll do a double here. I'll say that I'll
Okay.
give you two top fives. I'll give you top fives based off of after I've watched these and gone who was the most talented. Their
Yeah.
talent. He was one this season. Grace was two. Clairvoyance were three. John was four, and Sal was five. Based off of who I like the most in the combination of all of the pieces involved, including talent, I would have Grace one, Brian Justin Crum two, Clairvoyance or Dornboss three, Clairvoyance four, and Valentinetti five. So
Yeah, we talked that the
um,
clairvoyance finale wasn't really that great.
no, they kind of tracked downwards as the season went
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
little bit. So that was a surprise that they were two. It really was that night. I think everybody penciled in Dorenbos as two as the
Yeah.
season had gone on, from likability, all of that, and even after his kind of tanked performance, I still think people really thought he was two. There was not a single person on the planet more surprised that Brian Justin Crum was fourth that night than Brian Justin Crum himself. I don't know if you remember this, Cody. I don't know if I'm breaking news to you, but if you go back and watch the results of that episode, and when he gets announced fourth, his face, the old thing is just take it like a champ. Don't show your emotions. Smile, clap, give them hugs, and just be like, yeah, you know what? America chose. Not so fast. His his jaw almost hit the floor. He goes, what? Like, you can tell he is flabbergasted, and the judges were as well. They show the judges, and they're all looking at each other. I think they all penciled him in as second as well. Um, but his face when he gets announced as fourth, and then you can kind of tell quickly he realizes like, ooh, this isn't making me look great, and he kind of he does what he's supposed to do. But yeah, very funny. He gets announced as fourth, and he's doing he literally says what, like he couldn't believe it. And so I think too low is the correct answer for him. I think he should have been first or second that season. Should we move on to right place, wrong time?
Yes, because this is the one I really want to talk about.
This is a fascinating one, and I
Yeah.
actually want to start before we do our regular right place, wrong time, which means for those listening for the first time, Brian, if you're listening for the first time, um, right place, wrong time means you were on the right show, but at the wrong time. And if you would have won at a different time on this show, you would have won that season. And so, what seasons would that have been? I actually want to do a quick caveat to it and go, was he not right place, wrong time? Was it wrong place, wrong time? Was he at the
Okay.
wrong place? Was this the wrong show? Should he have went a different route? Should he have went on The Voice? Now, he may have tried to. Should he have went on
Yeah.
American Idol? Maybe he tried to. But did he pick the wrong show? Does the pure vocal shows appreciate him more than America's Got Talent did?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure the rules you mentioned earlier in the podcast that Simon didn't get too excited about him because of his age. Was he a little too old for X Factor,
Certainly.
The Voice, American Idol?
Yeah.
So that might have been part of it as well. Did they
Mm-hmm.
did his singing style fit into those shows? Was he
Sure.
not flashy enough for them?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think this was the right show for him.
Okay.
I don't think he would have fit into those shows.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not an expert on those shows. So honestly, I don't know if he would have been like the best one. Like if you put him on there and he's just suddenly the best. Maybe he's a middle of the pack vocal on The Voice. I'm not totally sure. But it's certainly being the best vocalist on the show and as good as he was, it certainly is a question that is begged of should he have just went on a purely singing show. But then you go, well, then it's just saturated with singers and he doesn't stand out. And the reason he stood out and made it as far as he did because he was the singer that year.
Yeah.
That's all that. Okay, let's do the actual right place, wrong time. Um, season one. I think we should go one by one because he's that
Okay.
good. He's
Okay.
he's going to be in the conversation for all 15. Season one, he would have been so good. He would have been you've rewatched season one
Yes.
in its entirety. He would have been. It's like the conversation people have of like if you took LeBron James and dropped him in the 1955 NBA Finals, they would be like, "What the heck is going on? Who is this guy? And what like this doesn't make any sense."
Well,
And that's what he would have been that good that season. I think he runs away with season 1. What do you
yeah.
think?
Well, first off, if you drop LeBron in 1955, there'd be a lot of people that it would have been a whole big race thing going on.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
so
There would have been a lot of but they're
I see what you're saying. I see your
ultimately
point, though. I see your
they
point,
would have
though.
been like
Yes.
he's cheating. I don't know how he's
Right.
cheating, but
And
he's cheating.
and I think he would have been right up there with Bianca because Bianca came out and they were just totally blown away with her voice out of that little body. So for him to come in, I think that would have been a great competition between the two of them, and big arguments, not arguments, debates,
Sure.
conversations between
Mm-hmm.
who is actually better, uh between him and Bianca Ryan, because Bianca Ryan, once she got into it, she just pretty much stole the show. She was pretty much going to
Right.
win it from the beginning as well. So uh
And it's funny.
we
It turns
yeah,
into a
yeah,
Grace Vanderwall, Brian Justin
yeah,
Crum. Like he gets put in this season, and again he's stuck trying to beat this
yes,
11-year-old phenomenon that everybody
right,
falls in love with.
yes,
It's like a it's like a the same thing, just different time for him. But I think Grace is far better than Bianca in terms of as an AGT performer. So I think there's a different discussion. But um, he's top 2 that season, is what you're saying,
yes,
clearly.
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Season 2. Now you've recently rewatched season 2 as well. Terrific
yes.
rewatch. Everybody go and
Thank
check
you,
it out.
thank you.
Um, Terry Fader. We've talked about his importance to the show, the most important winner of the show, certainly.
Yep.
I think I think Brian Justin Crum's a better act talent wise than Terry Fader. Whether I enjoy Terry Fader more, maybe. I do love ventriloquism. I think it's fascinating, and I love a good singing ventriloquist. From a talent standpoint, Brian wins that season. Do you think he could win season 2?
We just talked that, and we just released the finals for that. So we're all finished with season 2. And one of the conversations we had was in the finals, it was pretty much a 3-person race. It was
Mm-hmm.
Terry Fader and Kaz Haley and Butterscotch. Julianne Irwin was the 4th place, but it was almost a distant 4th place. She was
Okay.
good, but she couldn't keep up with the other 3.
Right.
And as the season went along, or earlier in the season, Terry Fader was just one of these that was kind of just moving along from round to round. They said, "Oh,
Right.
great, you're good. We enjoy you. You're funny," but they never really gave him the credit until the very end.
Okay.
If Brian Justin Crum had been in this, um, I think that it would have been. I think he would have been in the talks with those 3. I
Okay.
don't know if he would have won, but I think he would have been in that top 4. Kaz Haley was just so different from anyone we've seen before. The style that he sang, Butterscotch being so different with her beatboxing and
Mm-hmm.
mixing in with the singing, the different styles of singing that we got from those 3. It would have definitely have been an interesting top 4 to have Brian Justin Crum. I'm not sure he would have won.
Right.
I think that Terry Fader got so much better, and I'm kind of going long on this, but Terry Fader got so much better throughout the season. He was ultimately the better act in the end.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
Terry Fader ever do anything that touched Judge Cut's Creep?
Uh, Not until he got to the finals. Yeah.
I think we can fast track 3 through 6 because I think he wins those.
Oh, he definitely wins those.
Yeah.
It's no
3 through
contest in
6.
there. Yeah.
7, he would have had to fight Cotter. He would have really had to
Yes.
fight Cotter to win it. But he's one of the top 5 that season without a doubt. And I would say him and Cotter,
I
if
I, I think one of
fight
the
for that
Olate
win.
dogs. I think one of the Olate dogs would probably have ripped his arm off.
Yeah, potentially.
So,
Okay. So 7, there's definitely a debate. 8 through 10, we know Kenichi is beloved on Reddit. He's less beloved on this podcast.
we'll get
Um,
there. We'll get to that. It's on the
we are
schedule.
going to get to that. It is on the
Yes.
schedule. Good tease that we kind of didn't really tease. We kind of told. But anyway, I think he's better than him. I think he should have and could have beat him. 9, I love Matt Franco. That's a tough one. People do love Magic. That would have been a tough one to win. Paul Zerden is a tough guy to beat. Paul Zerden was hilarious. But I think you can make a very, very good argument for all three of those. 11, obviously, clearly not. He didn't win. 12, he's not beating Darcy Lynn. 13, he's not beating Shin Lim. 14 and 15, Cody Lee's
He's
a
not
tough
winning
one.
15. He's not winning
Yeah,
15.
15 without a crowd, without the production level that he could have gotten in those live shows and stuff, to the level that it was.
Yeah.
The big
Yeah.
moments and stuff, I just don't think are quite as big during last year's,
Yeah. But now
as well as what Brandon
in
Leak brought.
yeah, in 15 they would have pre-recorded all his stuff, so he would have gotten the
Exactly.
production value because they would have
Sure.
pre-recorded it. But what Brandon Leak was doing, he wouldn't have won 50. He probably he may have finished top 3.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And then 14, Cody Lee's a tough one to beat. Certainly,
it's just a different singing style.
Yeah, I mean, he's far and away better, but
yeah.
In terms of the voting, that's a different conversation. You know what I mean? So, but certainly probably wins multiple seasons. If you
Yes.
if you just tried out every year and just kept coming back, you would eventually have won. I think.
What would be his win percentage? Like if you were to drop him.
We agreed 3, 4, 5, 6, so 4 out of 15 minimum. And then I personally would say 1, because you took Bianca's like powerhouse singing and it was just multiplied to Brian Justin
but
Crum.
She had the cute kid factor.
She did.
Yeah.
So maybe that one, maybe 2, maybe 7, maybe 8, 9, 10. Those are kind of the maybes.
50%.
I mean, there's a chance
percentage?
he wins 6 or 7 of them. Yeah, he's amazing. We've done a lot of talk about stage production already. Yeah. Anything you want to just put a bow on stage production of what stood out to you?
Just the drums from Phil Collins song, and then being up on the platform with the projector screen. Those are the kind of the 2 biggest things.
Yeah, it was a really the production team, the stage production team was on a heater that year. They were going for it, and they did a really impressive job. History lesson for Brian Justin Crum. So we've kind of talked about this a little bit. You said you think he's the best singer ever. I think that's a correct statement. There's an argument for Danelia.
So did I get it right? So did my bracket get it right? Did my bracket get it right?
Well, I had him as the 3rd best act ever today.
Okay.
So Shin Lim was the correct answer on the bracket, but I have no qualms about you picking him to win. He was the winner of your madness bracket.
Sometimes the number 3 seed wins the tournament.
Without a doubt. He was the 2 seed actually.
Okay, 2 seeds win all the time.
And when we redo that bracket again next spring, he's not going to be a 2 seed anymore. So I'm excited for people to see that. It's already been revamped. I'm very excited for that. 3rd best act ever after Shin Lim and Darcy Lynn, and a very important part to the history of the show, because the adult male singers after Landau won season 6, it was barren until Brian Justin Crum. Realistically, I mean, you look at the finals and the top 5s of the next 7 seasons or 6 seasons. Adult male singers were a novelty at that point, and BJC kind of, he turned the tide a little bit, and as we said, was kind of a one of one. Anything else you want to add on the historical significance to AGT and Brian Justin Crum?
I don't think so. I just want to say I'm glad I got it right. I can't believe that I picked him to win the bracket and I was correct. So praise be to me.
You did Oz Perlman, who you never watched before, and Brian Justin Crum, who not 3 months earlier you were mildly impressed at best of his finale performance on a podcast we recorded. So it changes with the winds with you, Cody. There's no doubt about that.
When Jay and I get through all the seasons of AGT and we go back around to watch season 1 again, could be completely different.
You're gonna be like, this Bianca girl. I just don't. I never see. I just didn't see it. I just
I
didn't
don't get
see
it.
where it was.
Yeah,
Yeah. And to be frank, I really love the way they eliminated the two runners up that year too. You'll probably get around to that point where you like how they just sent home the second and third place in one order or another. It's been talked about, but yeah. An incredible performer. I really encourage people, if you are listening to this, go back and rewatch the performances, because it'll make listening to this a little bit more fun too, because you'll know what we're talking about. But they just really are incredible. And if you don't like singers on this show, I think this is one you can probably get behind, just because the
yeah,
talent is undeniable and the
yeah,
power and the performances were fun.
yeah. And I'm not big on singers, but I've come around on him.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We have one more rewatchable to close out the off-season rewatchable series. We teased it, poorly teased, but that'll be coming up, and that'll be the end of what I thought was a really fun series this off-season, Cody. I thought we did some cool stuff. We got to do some interviews, so we'll put a cap on it with our next one next week, and that'll be the end. And then it's June 1, and we're off and running for what I hope is a really, really talented season, because
Yeah, I
last
hope
year
so.
didn't really have it. 14 wasn't quite as good. It could just, the talent hasn't been as high as it was 11, 12, 13 the last couple of years. And I'm just really hoping we see some incredible performers.
Yeah, and I think with 15 we had some talent lined up, and then COVID hit, and then everything
Yeah.
just went to the wayside. And unfortunately, things like uh, comedians got
Mhm.
got hurt in this. They couldn't do what they wanted to do or needed to do in order to advance. So yes, I hope with 16 they were able to bring some crowds back, the audience members back. I'm hoping we're getting back to normal with AGT.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because I always have I'm always excited for the new season, but I also know the last 2 years have tethered my expectations a little bit, as well as I don't know how many seasons we have left. So there's also kind of like you want to make it last as long as possible.
Yeah.
I am very much excited for season 16, and again, I hope it's one for the books. Certainly.
Yep. So by the time you all get this one in your feed, we will have already recorded the Kenichi podcast. So AGT District, I hope you're ready for what you're
Yes.
getting ready to hear from us on Kenichi.
Yeah.
You never
Yeah.
know. I
What he may
may
say is the
have
best act in television history.
you never know. You just never
Yeah.
know. Just wait and see.
Yeah.
But until then, anything else on this?
No, I think he's amazing. I love him. I'm so happy we got to do it. One of my
Yeah.
all-time favorites, and somebody that deserved to be rewatched.
Yep. So you'll be getting the Kenichi one in your feed real soon. There should be an Oz Perlman rewatch. There's also Christian Stoinev, a rewatch
Mm-hmm.
and an interview on that. So go check all those out. Also check out our season 2 rewatch, and then we'll be right into season 16. So once again, you can reach us on Twitter, Facebook, and the Instagram, AGT Time Pod. I'm on Twitter at Cody L. Patterson, commenters on all the thingies at AGT Commenter. And that's it. Anything else?
YouTube. Watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. So watch his performances on YouTube. You can also, we're starting to post our podcasts, the video podcasts on YouTube. There's a wonderful picture of Nick Cannon right over Commenter's face. So
Yeah. I think people, Cody, you should have teased him and like, you're gonna see him. So if you want to see what he looks like, go to our YouTube and watch, and tell him at some point my face gets revealed throughout the podcast, and then it never actually does.
Like every few minutes, one frame of the video, just like in
yeah, like my
Fight
shoulder.
Club, like Fight Club.
Yeah, and it's super blurry too. Like there's no way you could make out who I am. Cody, we got to work on our how to cut that last part, and let's get some views on that YouTube.
That's right.
But yeah, go check out the YouTube stuff. I've always liked watching podcasts too, as well as just listening to them. So I encourage you to do that.
Okay. Well, that's all we got for tonight. So y'all have a good night.